strong eat the weak, and the strong do eat. Even parasites.
Hello readers and digital people, and welcome back to GP Reads. I am your host, Grant Reads, and today we are going back into Umami, which for those of you all who know is one of my favorite things in the freaking universe. I love Umami so much. I love it as much as gorillas. I do. It's another animation that I've put on that level, which is really saying something, because for 9 years straight, I only listened to Gorillaz and Damon Albarn music, with a few others thrown in here and there, but mostly like 90% Gorillaz. Let's just say I'm extremely picky when it comes to music. Anyway, back into Umami. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to be reviewing, analyzing, and giving my thoughts on Safe Mode Episode 5, and then I will go back and do the same for Episode 4, and then I want to give a full analysis, a full theory and review on Safe Mode as a whole so far.
Safe Mode Episode 5 Analysis.
So we got that static back. I've always loved the static. It gives it kind of an analog feeling without being analog, if that makes sense. Alright, now something I want to point out here, the deserts, the sands of time, it's always representative of a wasteland or a life after a life, an ending so that new things can begin. It can also mean that you're traveling the deepest recesses of your mind, the place where memories no longer are solid, and they've kind of just disintegrated into dust. It's grains, just tiny little fragments that are just intangible.
It never ends.
And it doesn't, does it? It never ends. The cycles of good and bad and humanity are just, they're infinite. We always repeat the same mistakes, we always repeat the same patterns in some way or another. Think about it, fashion always comes back around. We're always in this cyclical state, we really can't break it, so that even extends to the interface. Now something else that I find really interesting about the interface is how he's taken the concept of a motherboard and fused it with a city, because I've always thought that, same thought. When I look down to motherboard or a circuit board, I'm always like, it looks like a bunch of little buildings, like a little city on there. And so he took that concept to combine it, which I think is really interesting and really cool. Now here's something we need to hold on to for later. The animals in this world have become pink. I don't know if they were originally designed to be pink, or if they were changed to be pink, but they're the same pink as Mischief. Now I don't think it's Mischief specifically, because the face isn't Mischief. And Mischief usually inserts his face onto things, but I mean, that is a choice, so I guess he could become something without making the face change into his face. But I think there's a little more to that. We'll, again, hold on to that thought, we'll come back into it in a moment. It's also just a really cool concept. They took the idea of the digital sea, which is another name for the internet, and made that an actual concept where there's creatures that swim through the digital sea. Like sea creatures. I think it's really cool. And then we see the remnants of the hand, the ghost character, the spirit here. Now, I'm not sure if it just deactivated when Kami was destroyed, or if it was actually destroyed alongside Kami, or if it's just in stasis, but it's not moving. And it's been there for a while. As the sand, you can see, it started to cover most of the fingers, or at least, you know, the bottom parts of the fingers. Makes me wonder if all of the body part spirits that formed that deity are now in stasis, because the deity itself's in stasis.
We replaced our desires with plastic and silica.
They're replacing other parts themselves to try to perfect themselves, but they're still remaining human regardless, because the spirit wills on, and it desires the same thing no matter what form it's in. So whether you're synthetic or organic, if you have a soul, you're still pushed in that same general direction. Isn't that just an interesting thought? It's the idea of the ghost in the machine.
First, surrounding ourselves with it, then escaping into it.
That's really what we've done with technology, isn't it? Think about it. If our day-to-day lives are too stressful, what do? Take out our phones, watch a video, we escape into it. What do we do when the world's falling apart around us? We make communities online. Again, we're escaping into this world we built for ourselves, thinking that it was a paradise, but it's really become a paradise lost. See, the sand is covering everything, wars are returning, the same cycles are returning. Because if you bring people into something, the people's gonna come along with it, you know what I mean? Their bad sides and their good sides come along with it. You can't escape people if you're putting people into something. It's people that make these situations and these things. It isn't just circumstance. Circumstance can play a part, but it's never just circumstance, it's always the people. So bringing people into this perfect world, this interface, has caused the interface to start being corrupted as the old ways wiggle their way back in.
We thought life would be equal here. But hierarchy is the precipice of code.
And that really does stand true, because you have your source code, your drivers, you know, the codes at the top that are actually running your OS. And then you've got your programs and your apps, the things that run in the auxiliary code underneath your main primary code. So it really does stand. I am not a programmer, so my terminology is going to be really lame, but I think you know what I mean. Especially if you're a coder, you know what I mean. The synthetic world is really just an extension of the physical world. It's something that's built in the physical world, so therefore it is physical world, but it's like another dimension of it. Makes you wonder if there's, on the outside of the natural world, if there's another level that's more real, so to speak, and then we're running on that. Like, let's say that the universe is filled with these giant things, and they're running little worlds, and our little world is the simulation in and of itself. And then we've got our little worlds in the internet below that. I don't know, it's just making me think that kind of thought today. Alright, then we've got code running into a person. My first thought, this is Mr. Greetings, and he has code running into him, or maybe he's actually bringing in the code and then transferring out of his fingertips and creating the interface. I mean, it is green like he was at the beginning, so I'm thinking that might be Mr. Greetings. Where he's designing or maintaining the balance of or trying to fix the world that has been kind of altered by Mischief. What is this? This reminds me a lot of when Kami was interfaced into the deity, the big baby head, uploading data. Is he doing it again? Is Mr. Greetings doing that again within the interface? Is this Kami V3? Because we know we've had Kami V1, which we never really saw. I'm not sure if it was the big baby or if we just never saw it. Then we had Kami V2, which was our Kami, and yes, it's pronounced Kami. The character's Kami. I know it's pronounced Kami when it's referring to a god, but this is Kami. Anyway, enough of that. It frustrates me when people try to correct me on that. Anyway, could this be Kami V3? Because we see that it's synthetic. And people in this world are not synthetic in that way. They're either a program or they're a spirit that's coded in. This is an actual synthetic being that is programmed in or living within the interface itself. So we see the actual coding on its head. It looks like the wiring of Kami. So is Greetings making another Kami within the interface? And if he is he trying to build a deity within it or unite the spirits within it? Or is he just using this as like a monitoring system or something to defeat Mischief? I mean, it could be Greetings all modded out to be able to control the world, kind of like the Borg Queen, be able to monitor the world and control the world more easily. But I'm pretty sure we saw Greetings at the beginning and he didn't look like this. So there's some kind of Greetings chip, some kind of Greetings tech on the back of his head. We had this kind of floating goddess thing, which I think is reminiscent of Kami, or the idea of Kami. But then we see that it's actually in a simulation, maybe like in a VR experience, and it's actually being held up by wires, and it has like its neck sewed together and like robotic eyes. It's definitely an artificial goddess of sorts. Could it be saying that humanity, like the cultures, create these artificial gods, and he's basically doing the same thing, but with actual synthetics? And then we see one of the scientists, one of the Greetings scientists, asleep at the computer. It looks like he's been coding. Now this is Hexcode, so I probably need to go back and make sure it doesn't actually have a hidden message in there, you know, ARG stuff, but I don't think it does. If you all know what this says, just off the bat, or you've already done this, please let me know in the comments. I will be doing that, but it'll be another video. And then we see a very important picture painted here. Among the chaos, among the destruction, among everything just collapsing and turning into sand, these broken thoughts is a structure, a sandcastle, something built out of the human mind, something built out of the imagination, the human soul, so to speak. We get creativity personified here in the sandcastle. There's always that creative spirit that drives things forward out of the chaos. Okay, I just want to say this now. I love Snooze Button, and I love the way she moves. She's like one of those old, like, 80s or 90s video game characters where they jump and, like, do a flip to move. You know what I'm talking about.
I built this sand castle, and none of my friends came to see it. Smear, where is everyone?
Probably at home, where it's safe. They canceled school for a reason, didn't they?
How can there be any danger if I can just fast travel wherever I want?
The danger isn't external. It's an internal one.
Okay, now everything's starting to make a little more sense. So the problem isn't external, it's internal. Did you notice out in the sea, the shark was also pink? The animals are starting to become pink. They're starting to have their code affected. Because we saw that Mischief is the sun, or his face is on the sun at least, but he doesn't seem to actually be present in this interface world. Think about it this way. You got your outside world, and then you've got the inside world of the interface, and then in the middle, you actually have the code that is programming and basically running the interface. Mischief has actually lodged himself into that code around the interface and is interacting with things on an outside level. So he's actually changing the code of things. The reason the animals are pink is because Mischief changed the code of the animals to be pink. The reason that the sun has his face on it is because he recoded the sun to have his face on it. Mischief's in the code, which means that he could probably interact with the entities within the interface as well. He can maybe reprogram their minds, break them away from the simulation itself. Could he change the minds of them? Could he overwrite one of the codes of these entities and make them him, or a copy of him, or a soldier of him against Mr. Greetings in general and try to break out of the interface? Just leave it to Mischief to do something that devious, right? He's a worm in the program. Because you remember he was a worm in the apple? They're using computer terminology. He's a worm in the program. Because if you all know what a worm is in a computer program, it's something that kind of wiggles its way into your code, starts changing things, deactivating things, corrupting things. That's exactly what Mischief is doing. He's a worm in the interface program.
It's in here. That's what you need to protect. This is is your source of power.
You know, with the voice and the way he's talking, it almost sounds like Mischief is already in Smear, and no one realizes it yet. Because he's telling Lana that your brain, your personality, you as an individual is the powerful part, the important part. And that's something that Mischief was always trying to tell Henrik. Not forget his creativity, to be himself, to remember who he is. I'm just wondering if somehow Mischief has already wormed his way into Smear, or is fighting against Smear's coding as we speak, and that's why Smear's it seems like he's in conflict.
Once they see what you have, they'll steal it from you.
You can't steal memories, Smear. Everything's backed up to the cloud. I could just restore it.
No, well, not those memories. I'm talking about the memories you haven't made yet.
How can they steal something I don't have?
They can do it by providing manufactured ones for you. And they'll be great memories. You'll be able to experience life as no ordinary person in the past has ever been able to. And you'll be happy with those experiences. So happy that you'll never want to make your own.
Now, I think he's talking about Greetings here. I think maybe some of the more prominent or more powerful spirits he's wanting to take and use it to regain control over the interface, or to make more advanced portions, like take people's imagination, make more advanced portions of the interface. Maybe that's the reason there's all this desert. Maybe it wasn't powerful enough in and of itself with the spirits he took to remake an entire world. Maybe he needs the imagination of the spirits, like Lana, to remake the world back to its former beauty or something more beautiful. So they'll live this perfect little daydream, this sedated state within the interface, not remembering who they were or the imagination that they had before, while he's using that imagination to build the world, to build the interface into this beautiful, ideal place that he had the vision of.
You'll never miss what you never had, because you never knew what it was like to have them. It's the perfect crime, because nobody realizes it's happening. This castle you built will soon be washed away by the tide. It will be a memory too, but one that you made. One that is yours.
That's what we're really fighting for. And that's something that Mischief would have fought for. He's not trying to take away their personalities. He's trying to help them remember who they are and remove those that are going to try to erase the minds within the interface.
Can I ask you a question? When I grow up, will I be just like you?
I hope not.
Yeah, me neither.
So they can still grow up within the interface. I was wondering that. If the spirits of children just stay children forever, they don't. You can actually have a full life experience within the interface. It's just another form of existence. See, he actually respects it. He appreciates the work she put into it. So what did you all think? It seems that SAFEMODE is starting to become just as deep as Interface. Of course, it's both coming from the genius mind of Justin Tomchuk, so it's going to be great. The complexity, the symbology, the atmosphere, just all these things I love are definitely present, and are definitely more present than they have been in SAFEMODE thus far. So I am absolutely in love with the direction it's going, the way things are framed, the references to classic art. There's just so much to Justin's work, and I can't help but admire it. It's just, you're amazing. That's why I love your work, because it's so deep. And it's so well done and so well thought out. Well, I got a lot of theories on the rise, I got a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to make those in separate videos. Like I said, I'm also going to be analyzing episode 4 and then doing a review of the whole first section. Kind of like what we did here, maybe even a little bit deeper. I really want to make sure I don't miss anything, because there's so much in these. But until next time, keep your eyes wide open and never stop reading. I'll see you all.
Howdy, folks. You like blood, violence, freaks of nature?
Then head on over to argdigest.com to receive your free digital copy of our second issue. This time we are featuring Wevar, user 64342, Baphomet 666, Monster and Urban Spook, with interview with 10 Tapes creator, Jeffiet. Believe me, you won't want to miss this one. Physical print and Kindle copies available. See link in the description and pinned comment. Thanks so much for watching. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons and channel members. Thanks to you, I'm able to do what I love. CNK114, Investigator Zeus, Dobby's Music, Jabber Mullins, Free Spirit Katie, MC Darfur, Roxy, Vexus, Agnieszka, Granny Monster, Nightmare Luna, Lily Ardat, and Elliot the Epic 242. Really, thank you so much for everything you do. It means the world to me.